Well, that was an action-packed Monaco Grand Prix. Where do we even start with this race? I feel like so much happened and then nothing happened and then so much happened all in the space of 3 hours. Let's start at the very beginning. It is a very good place to start. Let's talk about the delayed start, because we did obviously have an hour delay start for the rain. It threw up a really interesting discussion point, I felt, which was, did the FIA, did the race director do the right thing? They saw the rain was coming on the radar. Should they have gone racing for 10 minutes knowing the red flag was imminent because the heavy rainfall was coming? Or should they have delayed the start and did what they did? I don't have the answer. I don't really know if I have an opinion, if I'm honest. It feels like a catch-22, right? Yes, in some respects, it should have been a case of, you know, they're professional racing drivers, they're paid to do this. They should have gone out and done a few laps, had the standing start, we'll get onto that in a minute as well. Got it sorted, got it done, and then kind of dealt with the weather as it came in. That is what they're paid to do. But on the sense of safety, was it safer to wait and make sure that we didn't have 12 cars pirouetting into the barriers before we had a chance to stop them all? And was there any point in going racing when we knew that the red flag was going to be coming imminently because of the rain on the radar? I think the rain came in a lot faster than people expected as well. I know when they were doing the grid walk, there were a lot of chatter about it's not going to rain at all. And then before the grid walk had even ended, the rain had arrived, albeit lightly. And Sector 3 was absolutely saturated. Though the debate on that is, if the cars had been running, it wouldn't have got quite so wet because they would have constantly been clearing that water. So I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings on that. I know we normally do this at the end, but do let me know down in the coffee pot below what you thought about the start, the delayed start. Were you happy with what they'd done? Do you think it was the right decision, or do you think they should have gone racing for as long as they could until the rain came too hard and kind of dealt with the weather as it came in? Is that just motorsport? Do let me know, because I'm really interested. It's an interesting discussion point that was brought up. Obviously, we then got started, finally, on a wet track. Another rolling start, which we'll talk about now, because I have discovered, since the race has ended, the reason that we had rolling starts only was because there was a power shortage at the Monaco Grand Prix circuit, which meant they couldn't get the 5 lights, the race lights, to work on the starting line, which means they couldn't do a standing start because there were no lights. Not the best thing to come out of a race that's fighting for its place to remain on the calendar. So not awesome for them for that, but very interesting how something like that happens. I know there was the moment in the middle of the race when the rain was quite heavy that there was a power outage in the TV compounds, and the commentators for the UK coverage at least lost pictures, couldn't see what was going on. So, you know, it is one of those things. It's the weather. You can't control it. But it just raises an interesting point. So let's talk about the race now we've got those things out of the way. I think it was only about 10 minutes of lull, which is quite impressive for a Monaco Grand Prix. Now, we didn't run to full distance. I think in the end it was about 60 laps. I can't remember and I can't find out, so I'm going to put it on the screen here. Thank you, editing Alice, if I can find out the information, because I can't currently find it out, which is why I can't remember. So if I couldn't find it out, these are just question marks. In which case, get rid of those. And in the end, it was Sergio Perez who took his first Monaco Grand Prix victory. Now, the biggest question mark, I think, has to be on Ferrari. Again, not a great showing for Ferrari, not a great showing for Sainz, if I'm honest. The discussion point on whether they should have stayed out and gone straight into the wets is a big question mark, because although Sainz stayed out and only did 1 pit stop, the Red Bulls at the time on the intermediates were 7 seconds a lap faster, which meant that by the time he'd come in and done his pits, the additional stop he should have had on them was obsolete. He'd lost a pit stop on them, basically. So it's about 19 seconds in Monaco. So did it pay off for him? Did it work? No, because he didn't. He lost positions, to be fair. He lost the position to Perez. So no, that didn't pay off for him in terms of Red Bull. Did it pay off for him in terms of his teammate? Yes. But that's another question mark, because would it have paid off for him if Ferrari hadn't have tried to double stack them and effectively got Leclerc stuck behind Sainz in the same instant? Because there was the confusing radio message of Ferrari clearly saying come in, and then no, stay out, but Leclerc was already coming down the pit lane. So that was a very, very confusing moment, very difficult to understand what Ferrari were doing there. But again, Ferrari threw this race away. It should have been an easy one too. They'd survived the rain with both of their drivers out in front. They blinked first, allowing Red Bull to perform the overcut, and utilize the fact that the track was still optimum for intermediates. I think that's the important thing. If the track had been drier and the intermediates hadn't been so powerful, I'm not sure Red Bull would have made the overcut work. But because the track was still damp, dry enough for slicks, yes, but still damp in areas enough that the intermediates were optimal, that's how they lost it, because Red Bull were then given the chance to take the pit stops after being on fast flying laps, after the two Ferraris were coming out on cold tyres, on slick tyres, on a slightly damp track. So that's how Red Bull made it work. And massive kudos to Red Bull, to be fair. They did, again, kind of what they did in Spain. They did what they needed to do to get the position on Ferrari, to beat them in a situation where they shouldn't have beaten them. The rain maybe played an effect. The rain also made the race actually interesting, bar 10 laps. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. But yeah, another thrown away chance for Ferrari. Another lost opportunity for Sainz. He had the pace on Perez. It's difficult to overtake around Monaco, sure, but we saw Gasly making nice moves through the field early doors, taking opportunities, braking late, going wide, taking a slightly different line to get past cars on a very difficult to pass track, and he made 3 or 4 very decent overtakes during the opening stint, which proved it was possible. So to see Sainz not even really try was disappointing, and it begs the question, or at least begged the question for me, if Leclerc had been there, would it have been a Ferrari at the top step of the podium rather than Perez? Would Leclerc have made the lunge? We'll never know. It'll be one of life's unanswered questions, but we can always have an opinion on it, of course. And I don't know whether the outcome would have changed, but I do think Leclerc would have at least thrown a couple up the inside. There was a perfect moment where Ferrari told Sainz to come in and change to the inters, and Sainz argued back and went, no, I want to stay out and go straight to slicks. And it was at that moment that was a Sainz pushing decision. That wasn't a decision for the team. That wasn't a decision backing Leclerc to try and help him retain his lead. That was Sainz making a decision for Sainz. If I was Ferrari, and this is where I kind of feel like Ferrari have missed the moment in telling Sainz that this isn't his championship. He's not fighting for this championship. He's 5th, I think, in the standings. Let me double check that. 20 odd points behind Perez in 3rd. Sainz is not in this championship. Sainz should be playing the team game now. He should be playing second fiddle to Leclerc. He's had his moments. He's thrown them all away. Enough is enough. If Ferrari want to win the 2 championships, they need to tell Sainz he is playing second fiddle. If they keep trying to cater for both drivers, Red Bull will just optimize, because Red Bull will tell Perez, as they did in Spain, get out the way. This is not your fight. You know who we're backing. You knew it when you signed the contract. Get out the way. And that's how Red Bull put themselves in such a strong position last year as well, by backing one driver. And it's a little bit like Mercedes. You have to come to a point where you tell a driver, we are losing the championship. Ferrari have thrown away over 40 points in both championships over the last 2 or 3 races. They were stonkingly in the lead. We were 3 races in and everyone was saying the championship's over. Leclerc's going to walk away with it with Ferrari. Now look where we are. 3 races later, Verstappen leads with a good 11-point lead, or a 9-point lead. Now I can't remember. Maths head. 9-point lead. Still a lead. Verstappen leads, and Red Bull have a very strong lead in the constructors. All because, in my opinion, Ferrari aren't telling Sainz this is no longer his fight. And I think that will be their downfall if they don't do it sooner rather than later. Anyway, I've been talking about the top 4 for like 8 minutes. So let's move on to the rest of the grid, because so much else went on in this race. So after having the promising start of pole and everything and dominating the first half of the race, surviving the rain, Charles Leclerc came across the line 4th, a very angry 4th, not even on the podium of his home race, in a race where he arguably should have won it. Had Ferrari have played their strategy better. I don't don't feel like they needed to double stack them. I really don't. I feel like they should have brought Sainz in, given Leclerc maybe a lap, maybe two, seen what Red Bull did, importantly seen how Sainz did on those slick tyres, and then you make the decision. That could have worked in Sainz's favour as well. So the fact that everyone pitted so quickly behind him after he put on the slicks, he didn't have a chance to optimise on an advantage of having the faster rubber on the drying track as well. So ultimately, Ferrari blinking too fast with Leclerc could have actually cost them both a chance at fighting for that, well, fighting for the lead, no, but holding the lead off the start. And we all know how important track position is in Monaco. It is difficult to overtake. Superstar Russell, once again, being the best of the rest, taking that 5th place home. Once again, being in the completely right place, that if anything had happened to the top 4, he was right there ready to pick up another podium. So another really strong race from him as well. Norris had a bit of a lonely race down in 6th, but again, showing that McLaren might not quite be there to challenge, but Norris is dragging that car, pulling that car probably to performances it shouldn't quite be producing out and out in pace, but still being really strong and really performing very well with McLaren. 7th was Fernando Alonso with his very funny driving too slow complaints, to which he came out and said, I was doing my own race. If they wanted to go faster, they should have come past me. Damn right, is what I say. That is the way motor racing goes. And yes, Monaco is difficult to pass on, but Gasly did many overtakes at the start, so it's not impossible. And we've seen clever Verstappen back in 2016 utilising blue flags, following front runners after they passed him through blue flag back markers to get positions done as well. It is possible to overtake, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to use blue flags in Monaco. So yes, they're getting right off the racing line, but if you can position your car correctly and if you're fast enough, you can get a pass done. 8th was Hamilton, who was very, very much complaining about Alonso and blamed his slow pace for a lot of the problems he had. 9th on track was Esteban Ocon, but was hit with the 5th place grid penalty, and ironically, because of Alonso's slow pace, fell out of the points when that penalty was added post-race. He and Hamilton came together quite early doors, neither of them retired. I think Ocon had a puncture and Hamilton had some front wing damage, but not a great deal of damage. You know, Ocon kind of had a puncture because he wouldn't have been where he was, so he must have just had a little bit of rear damage or something, but nothing devastating enough to ruin either of their races or put them out of contention or retire them from the race. But Ocon was handed a 5-second penalty for that collision and therefore dropped out of the points, promoting Vettel into the points in P10 and Valtteri Bottas up to P9 to complete our top 10. We had a very scary incident which brought out our black flag for Mick Schumacher. It's never fun to see Formula One cars break in half, especially after the Romain Grosjean incident in 2020. However, since the Grosjean incident, they have been designed to break away like that so that they don't go up in fiery smoky balls like the Grosjean car did. So, you know, it was absolutely stellar to see Schumacher just get straight out of that car, walking back to the paddock, seemingly perfectly fine, seemingly unscathed after what was quite a scary incident, especially seeing that car break in half. But they are designed to do that now, so a little sigh of relief that all of these safety measures seemingly working as they should have. Looked like he just got either a little bit on a bit of white markings or a little bit on a bit of damp track, lost the rear, and around he went spectacularly through the swimming pool complex. Other losses from the race were Alex Albon and Kevin Magnussen, so a disappointing double DNF for Haas. I think Magnussen had gone out like a lap or two before Schumacher as well, so all of their fallings apart came together in quick succession. The worst result for Haas this season. So in terms of looking ahead, we've got Baku next, which clashes with the Le Mans weekend if anyone's interested in Le Mans. Another street circuit. We've got the two long straights and they'll both be DRS, and the DRS will actually be effective there, whereas DRS is not effective in Monaco, and I don't really know why we even have it because it is pointless. So we'll see if Red Bull, who will be looking like the favourites on those long straights, we'll see if Ferrari can maybe start bringing this championship back around. But I assure you, if they don't tell Sainz to play second player, I don't think it will happen. I'll say it now. Another marker in the sand. We did one for the Spanish track talk. We'll do one here. If Ferrari do not tell Sainz to play second fiddle, if they do not back one driver, they will lose not just one, but both of the championships that they, on pace of cars, should probably win this year. So let's see what they do. Sainz is probably going to fight quite hard for them not to do that, but At some point, you have to concede that you're 5th in the fastest car on the grid behind a Mercedes, which certainly should not be ahead of you, albeit by like 2 points now, but the point still stands. They're not replacing the Russian Grand Prix, so we do stay on 22 races now this year, which means we're about a quarter of the way through the season. If my quick maths is correct, that feels about right. So quarter of the way through the season and he's 5th, about 40 points behind the leaders in the fastest car on the grid. Ferrari, tell them what's what. But as always, let me know your thoughts, feelings, and everything about the Monaco Grand Prix, the start, especially because I'm interested to hear your opinions on that. The way the race unfolded, Ferrari's strategy, Sainz's performance, anything else that happened, because quite a lot went on in the space of what was then 56 odd laps or whatever the number was. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, feelings, and opinions down in the coffee pot down below as per usual, and I will meet you down there to continue this discussion. But for now, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It's been an absolute blast, as always. If you enjoyed this video, go show that like button some good old-fashioned love. And if you want to support the channel, go hit subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss next time I upload a video. Stay awesome, and I will see you all in the next video! A boop, just snoop.